guys, welcome back to Girls Gone Woke. Claire and I here today are going to talk about relationships just because we've both had our fair share of shit relationships in the past and we've learned a lot to get to where we are now. We're both in very loving, healthy relationships finally. But we just thought we would share some tips that we've learned along the way so that, you guys don't make the same dumbass mistakes that we made because
no more F-boys should be the title of this.
I think we're going to do the same thing as last week where Claire will just ask me questions on today's episode and then next Sunday I'll interview Claire Bear. Yeah, and poor Claire Bear isn't feeling the best right now, but she's such a trooper and still gonna
Moni here for our GGW gang. So should we just jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. So Moni, what are some relationship tips that you would give others just reflecting on your own dating experience and relationship experience?
I think a huge one is to really know yourself and before you enter into like a serious romantic relationship, because if you don't know you and you're not very clear on your values or what you are looking for in another person, like you're not going to be attracting the right person. So for me, like I think a lot of my relationship issues in the past just came from not having a lot of self-awareness and not even knowing what I was looking for. I was just kind of like aimlessly floundering through life with men. But once I became clear on like what I was looking for in a person, and I literally just journaled about the values that I wanted in my future husband, it was so much easier for me to like weed out the wrong guys. But I found myself attracting, for lack of a better word, a lot of fuckboys in the past, which men that I knew just, it was like almost safe for me because I knew there was never going to be any real potential there. Yeah, and I would just attract these like unavailable men into my life. But I think it stemmed back from, I had this like limiting belief that I had to work for love and try to like prove myself to be loved. And I think that's just from childhood. Like I was shown love conditionally, even though I know my parents loved me unconditionally, but it's like, oh, if I was perfect or I won an award or I got straight A's, then I would be praised, which that's so normal for so many people. But then going into relationships, I was like also trying to work for their love and like trying to get them to love me. So it wasn't until I became very clear, like, is that actually what I think love is? No, like I don't think that I should have to work for love, and I want to be loved unconditionally. And that actually came into my life. So I had to let go of that limiting belief.
That's a really interesting perspective too.
Thanks, Clara.
You're welcome. You killing it, girl.
Another tip that I have is that you should let go of the he's not my type belief in relationships, because at least for me, like a lot of what I based relationships off of was my attraction to somebody, which is a huge part, but looks is not everything. And like I always think now, which sounds silly, but I think like if I was trapped on an island and blind for the rest of my life, like who would I want to be with? And that just kind of like filters out any sort of lust and leaves room for like pure unconditional love, because if you're only attracted to somebody for their looks, then that's not the person that you would want with you. But yeah, I just think that's a good one. And obviously you still need to be physically attracted to somebody, but it shouldn't be your number one quality that you're looking for, because then it's more likely that you're going to be in lust and not love. And also like physical attraction can be gained just from like loving somebody's soul. And I think it's so much more important to fall in love with somebody's soul versus their looks or like, oh, they're great at sex, because all of that stuff fades. Yeah, and you just want like a lifelong partner. So that shouldn't be like the number one thing that you're looking for.
Right, because looks aren't gonna be there for you when you need somebody to be there for you in your darkest times. And
yeah, no, not at all. Two more pieces of advice. One is to be your authentic self. Don't try to prove yourself to anybody else. Just go out and do you. If you're out doing the things you love, being your authentic self, like, you're more likely to find somebody else who is interested in the same things as you are. And it's just a more natural way to meet somebody versus like Tinder or dating apps. Not saying that those don't work, but just go out and do the things that you love. And then another huge one, which I finally learned, but is not to ignore red flags.
That's
I
a
like to
big
think,
one.
yeah, and I like to think like, oh, I can change them, you know?
Oh,
You can't.
oh, every
Yeah,
time.
you definitely cannot change people. You just can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves. And I would always fall for like potential in people, like, oh my God, he has so much potential. And I could like see past all the bullshit. But in reality, like, nobody is going to change unless they want to. So don't fall for potential and don't ignore red flags. Like, if a guy says that he's not like the relationship type and he's not ready for a relationship, then believe him. Like, don't think like, oh, but if I just like hang around a little bit longer, like he'll become a relationship type and he'll want to date me, because no, he won't. Like, he's actually not a relationship type and he doesn't want to date you.
Right.
So yeah, just don't ignore red flags is a huge one. But
Just bouncing off of that to believe
yeah,
their actions.
oh my God.
Their
Yeah.
actions say so much more so than sometimes what they even can tell you.
Yeah, that is huge. That is so huge, because now being in a healthy relationship, like, you should just not even have to think about like, oh, when is he going to text me back? Or I wonder if when he's going to want to hang out this week. Like, they should be prioritizing you. And yeah, Claire's so right. The action just speaks so much louder than words.
Right. And I've been there multiple times in past relationships. And like Monica said, now that she's in a good relationship and now that I'm in a good relationship, it's even more apparent to us.
So
Just as
much
I was
more.
turning a blind eye before, I wasn't believing their actions. I was believing kind of the bullshit that they would tell me. And it would
Yes.
take me so long to figure it out, where now I feel like my bullshit meter, it's just, I'm on top of it. I understand it so much better. And sometimes you do have to go through it to figure it out, but we're here because we want to help you get to the,
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely don't regret anything in the past.
yeah,
But yeah, you're right. Now that like I'm in a healthy, loving relationship, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, I feel like sorry for the girl that I used to be with, like, dating.
yeah,
I just didn't really know my worth, and I would just put up with so much bullshit. All of that served a purpose, because yeah, I truly believe like fuckboys serve a purpose in life, and I'm so grateful for like everybody that I was with in the past, because it all like taught me what I didn't want and made it so clear on like what I was looking for. So then when that person did come into my life, I appreciated him a million times more.
yeah,
Whereas if Brian would have come into my life without any of those experiences, I would have been a little bit more naive to like, I wouldn't have really appreciated him as much, because I wouldn't have known any other way.
yeah.
You know? So when
That
I
is so
had,
legit.
yeah, since I had all like guys that didn't treat me well or didn't value me, because I also didn't really value myself, it just made me so much more appreciative of Brian.
Oh, no, I hear ya. And I feel like in that way, we both have had our fair share of fuck boys. And oh, now you're so right. Now we just know we're so much more grateful
Yeah.
for that
No,
now.
but relationships should be fun and they should be easy. Claire, your phone is off.
What the? Okay, we back, and I think we're okay.
God, I hope.
Yay, I got a text and I didn't hear anything.
Good. Yeah,
Okay.
no, a millionth and one time. Relationships should be fun and easy.
Seriously.
It shouldn't be drama filled
No.
at all. Like, if you're attracting that, then it's like maybe you like games and you like the drama part of it, but if that's what you like, then that's what you're gonna get.
Right.
But yeah, I think the best piece of advice that I got was to marry your best friend.
Yeah, that's so true. Cute. We're getting all sappy over here.
I know. What the hell? I used to be like, I'm not a relationship person. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get married. And now I'm like, I love him.
There's like little hearts just like bubbling out.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I know. Remember, Mom? We used to be like, marriage to hell with that. Like,
Yeah.
we were so scared of even the thought.
Right.
And I mean, I
We're
still
both
am, but
like,
I'm so
I
much
am
more
too.
open.
Yeah. But you and I are both just like, I mean, you were more of a relationship person than me. But again, I think we both went for guys with no real long-term potential because it felt more safe.
Right. Yeah. Like, I would consider myself a serial monogamous dater. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be with one person for way too long, then another person for way too long, then another person for way too long, even when it didn't feel right. Because,
Right.
like Monica said, I would just try, and I kept thinking, like, I could change this person. I can change this person. Maybe I need to change myself in order to fit their mold. Ellie and Mia and my mom, they would always like laugh. They'd be like, Claire, if this dude was like a carpenter, you'd all of a sudden take like woodworking classes. Or Claire,
Yeah.
if this dude was a doctor, you'd straight up be applying to medical school. Like, it would basically be like you just change yourself for every person you're with. And it actually really hit me hard. And they would also say, Claire, you love anybody that loves you. And I would be like,
Me too.
really? And
Yeah.
I would always be like, stop. No, I don't. But now looking back, I was like, wow, if any guy gave me attention in that way and really made me feel loved, I didn't care if I had red flags like Monica talked about, I just ignored them. I didn't care if that person just was way different than me. I would somehow try and fit that mold, and it never worked for me because, like Monica also said, when you're trying to be somebody you're not to fit into a relationship, it's never really going to work out because firm believer in like who you are is who you are deep down to your soul. And if you try and change that, you're going to attract all the wrong types of dudes. And trust me, that's what I did.
But I always do.
So, wonder why I did that. I do think just like when my parents went through their divorce and just growing up in a family where my parents didn't show affection really, I think I like craved that. So, that's why when well, one, I just loved that attention, which I think I was just trying to find myself in that way too. But yeah, I would just completely change who I was in these relationships. And for the first time in whatever 28 years, well, probably not 28 years, but since I started dating, I feel like I'm more myself than I've ever been. And I'm in the healthiest relationship that I've ever been. So we can attest to it.
I love that. Yeah, and it's funny how it affects people's life experiences affect people differently just based on their personalities too, because like you said, your parents never showed affection and you like then became a relationship person and loved anybody that loved you. For me, my parents never showed any affection and it made me not a relationship person because I'm like, why would I ever want this? Like, I don't want to get married. I don't want to date anybody. Like, that looks miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just not a relationship person at all because of that. But then, yeah, once you work on yourself and heal whatever limiting beliefs you have about it, then you're more open to finding true love.
Yes. So take our advice. But if you need to make the same mistakes that we did, like we said, we don't regret it. I mean, it led us
Not at
to
all.
where we are now, but I do wish I knew this stuff and I would have taken it more seriously because I feel like it's just so beneficial.
Yeah. And it's one thing to like hear things and you're like, yeah, I know I should be doing this. Life experiences are so much more valuable. So even if you have to like keep dating around, just maybe these tips can help you shorten the length of time that you're with the wrong people, because if you're just more aware going into something,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll notice red flags and be like, oh, okay, like this is a sign. And they'll be less likely to like stick around with fuckboys for a long time like I did.
Right. I feel like a lot of my issues too, going for the wrong people and feeling like I had to change myself, stemmed from not really like feeling whole within myself. Like I know they say a lot of times you look for your broken pieces within other people. And I definitely did that. I was so insecure. So it made me think I wasn't maybe worthy too of dating somebody who was very secure and very happy in their own life. It's funny, you kind of attract what you're also kind of going through internally. I definitely did that. So sometimes it just takes finding some confidence within yourself and learning to love yourself, which sounds cheesy, but it's so
No,
true.
the most important thing out of all of this.
Yes. It's really about just like making yourself feel whole before you try and,
Right.
I don't know, be in a relationship with somebody else.
And you should never think like, oh, I want to date this person to complete me, you know? Like nobody in this world can complete you. You have to be whole and complete on your own and by yourself, which you are. But I always think of this like, this is how I think of a healthy relationship. You have a beautiful flower that's whole and complete by itself, very healthy, like healthy roots. And then you plant a weed next to it, aka a fuckboy, and they completely suck all your nutrients out of you. And then your flower, your whole and complete flower, starts to wither and looks like shit and is worn out. So get rid of that fuckboy and you plant another whole and complete flower, aka a self-aware, mature man who has all the values that you're looking for next to you, and you both actually grow taller because your roots intertwine, you nourish each other, and you grew taller than you were apart.
Aw, no, that's like the best analogy ever given, really.
Oh, yeah, that's all we got for you guys today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we hope that you gained something from our little talk on relationships. Next Sunday, tune in for me interviewing Claire about the same stuff. We can get a little more in depth about Claire's history of fuckboys and what she's learned. And
Great.
but yeah, we hope you all have an amazing week. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can hang out with us every Sunday. See you next Sunday. Have an amazing week.
Bye.